Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Morris versus Brister.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Good day. Mr. Morris, you say you are 100% certain that you are the biological father of the 29-year-old woman standing across the aisle and want this court to put an end to years of confusion, lies, and doubt. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Brister, you say you don't believe Mr. Morris is your father and that you've been lied to by your mother, Ms. Smith, regarding who is your biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Smith, you are here to support Mr. Morris's claim that he is your daughter's biological father, and you pray today's results will heal old wounds. Is that correct?
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Morris, I want to start with you. What makes you so certain that Ms. Brister is indeed your biological daughter?
Well, ma'am, I just feel 100% in my heart that she is my child.
Take me back. I want to understand the nature, how this relationship began. Were you boyfriend and girlfriend? What was Mr. Morris? Explain to the court.
I met Mrs. Smith in 1984. At the time, I was involved with a breakdancing crew. When I met Mrs. Smith, this one evening as we was performing, I knew right then I wanted to be with her. One thing led to another, and I pulled her, and me and Mrs. Smith, we did get together.
Okay, did you dance on over there? What'd you do?
But actually, it didn't happen until the following evening because I had to get my cousin out of the way because by me being shy.
3 was company then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Understood.
ma'am.
All right, so you all started a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the relationship last?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years?
Yes.
Was it a committed relationship?
Well, ma'am, I thought it was in the beginning. Yes, it was. It was. It's just I had to go through a lot of turmoil in order to be with her because she was a queen.
Because she
was a queen.
Okay.
And there was a lot of different guys at her. And so, it was fight after fight with different people in the town that I didn't know nothing about. And
so was she with a lot of other people or just she had a lot of suitors?
a lot of suitors, I would say. Because at the time I was with her, it was just me and her.
So, Ms. Smith, what do you recall about this relationship?
We had a good relationship. Different guys wanted to be with me, but I wanted to be with him.
And so what is the status of your relationship right now?
Well, we're back together.
You are?
Yes.
Yes.
We're a couple.
After how many years?
14 years to be precise.
14 years?
Yes.
And now you're back together?
Yes.
But there's still this paternity issue hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
Why? You say you were only with her. She said she was only with you.
I came back to town after hearing it from 3 different individuals that she was pregnant with my child at the time, and we stayed in 2 different towns. So when I heard it more than twice, I would say, I left where I was to go to her town to talk to Mrs. Smith to try to get this resolved because...
Was she pregnant at this time or had the baby been born?
No, Legina was already born. But at the time when I talked to her, the 2 days I was in town to see Mrs. Smith, we had an issue and she told me to my face that no, none of her children were mine. So I left.
So how old was Miss Brister at this time?
I would say she had to be 5, maybe 5 or 6.
So Miss Smith, you remember telling him that Miss Brister was not his child?
Yes.
Why did you tell him that if today you're saying you believe she is?
He was trying to get back with me, and I didn't want to get back with him.
Miss Brister, who were you told is your biological father as a child?
The man who's on my birth certificate, I've always known him to be my father.
And at what point did you realize that there is a possibility he wasn't your biological father?
I remember as a child, my mom taking me to get a DNA test, and I didn't remember the results at that time, but I do have a faint memory of her saying that he wasn't my father.
You brought an exhibit for the court.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please.
This is just a timeline of some of the things that she's told me over the years. I've always known the man on my birth certificate to be my father. When I was about 16, Mr. Morris, he came to visit, and he introduced himself as my dad. I don't remember the entire conversation that we had, but I do remember him saying that he was my dad. He came, he was there for maybe like a week or so, then he left.
So he comes into town, he says, I'm your father. He stays a week, and then he leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Well-
yes, Your Honor. My mother, she didn't really speak of him after that, and it went back.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I was in town for almost 6 months.
But were you a father to her?
Yes, I was active in her life at that time, but she didn't live with us.
All right. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. And the last point on your board, your exhibit.
Yes, like I was saying, it went back to normal for me that the man who's on my birth certificate was my father. And a couple of months ago, my mom, she told me that Mr. Woods, a guy who's deceased, that he could possibly be my father.
So let me understand this. The bottom line is, as a young woman, you've been told different stories.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you have one man on your birth certificate.
Yes, Your
Next
Honor.
thing you know, it changes to Mr. Morris comes to visit, and he introduces himself to you as I'm your dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
So now you're saying, okay, what's going on here? Then 1 week later, Mr. Morris leaves. This is in your mind.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then your mom says to you, no, the other man is your father.
Yes, Your Honor. That's how I remember.
And then in 2015, your mother tells you that a deceased man, Mr. Woods, could be your father.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
You may step back over to the
Right.
podium, ma'am. This is confusing. It really is.
It's very confusing for me.
And I can see how much that hurts you.
It's hurtful. It's confusing, you know, because I want to know.
Okay.
I feel like I need to know for many different reasons.
Ms. Smith, I need to ask you. I think it would even help your daughter more to understand why. Why so many stories?
I just didn't want her. I just didn't want her to. I was trying to protect her. I was just trying to protect her.
Is it because you knew that more than one man could potentially be her father? Or is it because you believed Mr. Morris was her biological father and he was living such a life outside the lines?
Yeah.
Which one?
The way he was living. That's all. I mean, I wasn't out trying to hurt you. I was more trying to protect you.
And how old were you when this happened? This started when you were how old?
This started when I was, I think, around like 8, 9, maybe 10, when I was told, when I remember.
When you remember
her saying that the man on my birth certificate wasn't my father.
So, Mr. Morris, as you look at Ms. Brister testify and you hear her testimony, how does that make you feel? You've maintained that you thought you were her biological father all along. She's got 4 stories she just presented to the court.
See, I never knew anything about those other probabilities.
So I need to ask you, what makes you so certain she is your biological daughter?
When I was incarcerated, there was sheriff deputies there from the town where she was living at, which I didn't know nothing about. They presented me with paperwork saying that I was being sued by Internal Revenue for child support. I had the papers looked at by a law clerk, and
So the bottom line is, while you were away,
Yes.
you were served,
Yes.
or you received the paperwork indicating that you owe child support.
yes.
Now, Ms. Smith, had you given Mr. Morris his name? Because how would they get his name? How would they even know? Had you ever had a DNA test?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Did you have a DNA test with Miss Brister?
Yes.
He didn't, I don't remember that. But if you've known that I was your daughter, it's kind of like, why didn't you reach out? Why didn't your family reach out?
Because
nobody
I was under
said
so
anything in all these years. So now that I'm about to be 30, you know, and here it is, you saying you're 100% sure, but I haven't seen that. You haven't been a part of my life at all.
You're right.
Or your family. So if you knew, then why not reach out? Why not your family reach out?
I can only speak for myself. I know when I wanted to be in your life, Legina, I couldn't be because I had so much on my plate. And as I explained to your grandmother and your mama and your uncles, that I was facing a lot of time. And before I would let the police intervene in your life and destroy the image you have of me as your father in your mind, I decided to leave. I didn't want to subject you to that. God is my witness, I didn't.
So you were saying that you knew you were her biological father, but because of the life you were living at that time,
Yes, ma'am, the
you
criminal
felt
element.
it
Yes, ma'am.
was best
Yes,
to
ma'am.
leave her out of that.
Yes, ma'am.
And you basically kept that news to yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Brister, as you talk about the various stories your mother told you, is there anything you'd like to say to your mother about how these stories have affected you and how this lack of clarity has affected you?
It's just confusing. I mean, I want to know, you know, for me and for my children, just for things that, you know, he couldn't be a part of in my life, you know.
And I apologize for leading you on like I did. I really do apologize. And I am sorry. I'm very sorry that I hurt you. Because I wasn't trying to. I was not trying to. I was trying to protect you. I apologize.
But if you had taken a DNA test and you knew that there had been a test, did you ever get the answer or did you just not want to know the answer?
I never got the answer until he told me the answer. I haven't seen it because his family won't present the paper.
But you've never seen the paperwork. No. You've never seen the results in person.
No.
Ms. Brister, this is so hard. This really is. Because on the one hand, you've been led on this windy road your entire life, and you have recollection of it. On the other hand, I hear Mr. Morris and Ms. Smith saying, your mother saying, we couldn't let her be in the midst of all this. So I tried to protect her, and I tried to, I guess, put a man on your birth certificate that she could call a father and that could be there for her. What are your hopes in this moment before I give you the results?
I hope that, you know, that me and Mr. Morris can have a relationship that he could be a part of me and my husband's renewal ceremony, because we plan on renewing our vows, you know, and I want to build a relationship with him and for him to be in my kids' life because they deserve that too.
Beautifully said. I think we need to get the results. It's time. Thank you, Jerome. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Morris versus Brister, when it comes to 29-year-old Legina Brister, do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Morris,
Yes, Shauna.
you are not her father.
What?
I'm very sorry.
Can I hug my daughter?
Absolutely, is that okay?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You can stand with your daughter, ma'am. Miss Brister,
Yes,
are you okay?
I am. I'm glad to know, it's one step closer.
Yes.
So,
I'm very proud of you in this moment. It wasn't the answer and the closure you wanted, but at least we know now. Ms. Smith, I have to ask you, do you know who your daughter's biological father is if it is not Mr. Morris?
I believe it's the deceased.
Well, I will say this. Our courtroom is here to help families. And Ms. Brister, we will be here for you. And Mom, I hope that you will continue to help your daughter and help facilitate this process, okay?
I will.
Mr. Morris,
Yes,
I know
Your Honor.
this was probably a shock for you. Are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
We have counseling and resources for you. I wish you all the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.